Good evening, everybody. So I've just watched a video all about a guy who's talking about having wasted his 20s, and I thought I'd do a video all about my experiences during my 20s and whether or not I've wasted my 20s. So whether or not I've wasted my 20s, I don't really know, possibly. Um, Actually, I don't think I have. I don't think I've wasted my 20s at all. I mean, I'd like to say that there's been quite a lot of wasted time during my 20s, and actually that might be the truth to some extent. I've spent too much time online, too much time on social media, and I think that's pretty much true for everybody. But then again, I have had, I think, quite a few successes in my 20s, or I've managed to achieve quite a few things in my 20s, or I've devoted a lot of my time to trying to achieve stuff, all of which has failed, by the way. So, not really successes as such, but I think I have achievements nonetheless. And I think that failure, even though failure hurts and is painful, is obviously a valuable thing to undergo in life, and it makes you better at the stuff that you want to get good at, which is crucial. So I think, yeah, I've managed to achieve quite a lot. I've written 3 books in my 20s. I've written oodles of poetry. I've written hundreds of articles. I've really made a stab at trying to be a writer, a stand-up comic. I've also been doing stand-up comedy for 5 years. I tried to be a tech entrepreneur. I tried to set up a political social networking site called myfesto.com, which failed miserably, but whatever. I tried to set myself up as a publisher in the first instance to publish my own books, in the second instance to publish the work of other people, or to publish the work of other people who might not get published in this publishing climate, and whose work might be sort of passed over in the sort of weird sort of blacklisting culture that we have at the moment. Um, yeah, so I am proud of myself. I'm proud of the stuff that I've achieved so far. I've also spent a lot of time researching physics in my spare time. So I've spent a lot of time developing my own theory of quantum gravity, which no one believes in, obviously, and no one takes seriously. But yeah, that's taken up a huge amount of my time. It's something I consider really, really important. It's one of the subjects I've written a book about, since since one of the books that I've written is a work of non-fiction all about quantum gravity and about this theory specifically. So I'm quite pleased that I've managed to get that project to sort of that stage of completion. And yeah, I mean, I think one's 20s really is a sort of practice decade, if you see what I mean. It's a decade in which you're supposed to go out into the world and try to claim your own territory within it, isn't it? And to try and make something of yourself in the world. Um, or to try and find out where you fit in the world, and so on and so forth. And yes, fuck up, and yes, fail, and yes, try again, and all this sort of stuff. But there's good stuff to do and good stuff to attempt. I think one's 20s really are sort of the decade in which one does that. And I haven't really achieved at least the outward trappings of success quite yet, I don't think. I'd hope to be a success as a stand-up comic, and I am a success as a stand-up comic also because I've made people laugh on stage. I've made people laugh on stage and I haven't got booed off. I have had some pitiful bombings in my time, but then again, every stand-up comic who's ever gone on to become successful has had those. So that's not something to feel too bad about, but also those experiences, i.e. failures, those are learning experiences. So you always get something out of it when you bomb. And yeah, I'm more proud of myself for having done it and having put myself through all that. And yeah, I think I've achieved a good deal in my 20s, really, all things considered. Just to like blow my own trumpet a little bit, you know what I mean, and maybe not feel quite so bad about the crushing failures that I've been through with various things, like the political social networking site that didn't work out and so on, and my books not really selling, and all this sort of thing that I think doesn't necessarily matter quite so much yet anyway. And I'm happy with where I am in my 20s. And I'm happy with the things that I've done in my 20s. I don't think I've done anything that's too bad. I have done bad things, obviously, but nothing that's sort of really ruined my life, like my entire life, if you know what I mean. I don't think that I've done anything like that. Well, I certainly haven't. I don't think I'd be here if I had. But, you know, it's all good. I think, because I'm 28 at the moment, so I have about 18 months of my 20s left. So 18 months of practicing left. And I'm now at a stage where I'm really trying to get serious about writing as often as humanly possible and doing stand-up as often as possible, and really getting that stage time in and really trying to improve and get back to how good I was before coronavirus and all this sort of thing. And yeah, I've achieved a good amount and I'm happy with it, I think. I'm really glad I didn't spend all my time during my 20s just fucking around and, say, playing video games or something, or taking loads of drugs, or sort of being stuck in a dead-end job, like in an office where you may be earning a lot of money but you're not really passionate about it, and you're just sort of wasting time and not really going anywhere and spinning your wheels a bit. Because I know that a hell of a lot of people out there have sort of creative ambitions in life, be it a writer, musician, stand-up comic, whatever, and they don't really start pursuing it in their 20s, and they sort of take a career change later on in life and start pursuing those sorts of things later in life, which I think can be done, obviously, but I think you really need the fertile ground of being young to really make it at those things quite often. And I'm glad that I've devoted time to, say, improving writing and improving stand-up while I'm younger, because I couldn't really imagine trying to start out as a writer now, I don't think. Not that you can't become successful as a writer later on in life. I don't think that's what I'm trying to say at all, but I think it's more difficult to. And yeah, it's something I wouldn't be able to sort of retune my brain to being able to do that later on quite so much, maybe. But then again, I've tried to retune my brain to do lots of different things over the course of the years, so I don't know. But yeah, I don't think I've wasted too much time. I don't think I've been too lazy either. Actually, I don't think I've been lazy at all. I think I've spent most of my days reading, writing, working on stuff, and yeah, having jobs in the meantime as well. I've done sort of farm work in interim times. I've done bar work and restaurant work and so on in interim times as well. I do that at the moment, which a lot of people would sort of sneer at and say, oh, that makes you a failure. You've got some sort of crappy job. You know what I mean? And they say, oh, that makes you a failure because you're not, like, earning loads of money and working in the city and so on. And I turn around and say, well, no, but I'm doing what I want to do in my time outside of work, so I guess I sort of win, don't I? Or I'm doing stuff that makes me happy. Since when I was working on farms, that did make me happy, and when I was working in pubs and restaurants, I didn't hate it, but it gave me a lot of time to pursue stand-up comedy and writing in my spare time. So that's why I do that. And yeah, I am happy with it. And I think I'm a happy person. I think even though I've gone through quite a lot of mental health shit in my life, in my 20s, I'm pretty certain that my mental health is in a pretty good place at the moment, and I'm quite happy. I've discovered a lot about myself over the years, a lot about my identity and so on, and Shit, I just spilled coffee all over myself. Fuck. Yeah. So, I'm a happy, content person. And I'm hardworking, and I've managed to achieve a fair amount in my 20s, I think. So, I don't think I've wasted my 20s, luckily. And I know that sort of a lot of people do waste their 20s, and I think it's a shame that people do that and don't really sort of earnestly try and go out there and succeed in life. And I don't know what motivates people to do that, really, or what motivates people to look at the life that we have in terms of what it can and cannot be used for, and think of it as anything other than an opportunity to try and well, build the sort of life that you want to have, if you know what I mean. And I I think it's a very great thing to delay gratification and to work for, try and build up successes for the future rather than just enjoy the moment, if you know what I mean. I think that's very, very, very important. And to plan for the future and to, think about where you're going to be in 5 years' time and all this sort of thing, I think it's very, very important. And unfortunately not everyone does that, and some people, they just fuck around in their 20s completely and end up in a position where they're, say, 28 like myself, and don't have a base of knowledge and skills, can't really turn their hand to any kind of paid employment, don't really have any aspirations, crucially, which I think is a terrible thing. If you don't have aspirations, if you don't want to get somewhere, if you don't have a goal in mind, and you're working toward, and you're not working towards a goal, I think that's very, very unhealthy. I think it causes you to lack meaning in life and be unable to live a meaningful existence. And you end up just existing and just sort of tolerating life day by day, rather than going out sincerely to try and contribute something to the world, for instance, or to even just get the sort of life that you want for yourself. So, I mean, Stephen Fry, for one, says that I think goal orientation is the worst thing you could do in life. So I don't think it's the worst thing you could do in life at all. For one thing, it's incredibly hard to do anything at all without being goal orientated. Let's not say goal orientated, let's say task orientated, possibly. The two might just be interchangeable. You can use them interchangeably. So if you're undertaking any form of work, you need to focus on the task at hand, complete that one, then complete the next task, then complete the next task. You might as well say you're jumping from goal to goal to goal. If you want to become a writer, if you want to earn your living from being a writer, you need to get books published. So that's a goal, isn't it? And the way you get a book published is you write a book, and hopefully it's interesting, engaging enough, and sort of has the necessary literary pedigree such that it achieves success, gets picked up by an agent, gets picked up by a publisher, gets published, and sells lots of copies and gets lots of awards, possibly even. So, yeah, you're struggling without goals. And I know there's this sort of Eastern mystical notion of living the unplanned life. And, the unplanned life, I think, is not worth living. Also, the unexamined life is not worth living. And I think the two very much go hand in hand. And when you're living without goals in life, you are kind of living also without a plan, and you can't live a planned life without also examining your life and examining what you're doing wrong at the moment that's preventing you from reaching your goals, if you see what I mean. So those two are very closely related. And yeah, living the unplanned / unexamined life means that you're not planning for the future. You're just enjoying the moment. You're just taking instant gratification, sort of in every moment you can, and you're not working now for results and pleasures tomorrow, or successes tomorrow, or even successes many years down the line. So it's not worth living that sort of life because it just ends in disarray and in a mess. And I think Stephen Fry is actually a bit hypocritical, sharing a stage with Jordan Peterson on this. Since Jordan Peterson is very much an advocate of goal orientation in life, and Stephen Fry has spoken out about this before, and he's spoken out about self-help culture before in America, and he hypocritically, I think, shares the stage with the preeminent self-help merchant of this day, i.e. Jordan Peterson. And is Jordan Peterson right? He's not entirely wrong. That's the other problem with him, is that, yeah, you do need to be orientated towards goals in life if you want success. So, like, you know, say you want to do anything. If you want to start getting up at 4 a.m, you know, that's a goal. You need to be able to do it for certain jobs. Or if you want to just do it because you want more time in the day, you need to be able to do that. In fact, if you want any job, you need to get up in the morning usually, because most jobs start about 9 o'clock in the morning, so you need to be able to get up for about 8 o'clock in the morning, so as to commute then to work, and so on. And, you know, if you say, oh, I don't want any goals in life, well, then really you're following the sort of the path of the ascetic and sort of the Buddha path, and you can sort of go meditate on a mountaintop or something for 50 years and try and truly live without goals, except you've got to feed yourself, obviously, so that entails goal orientation, because you have something you want, i.e. food. You need to go out and get the food to sustain your own life, and so on and so forth. And it all gets a bit silly, and you have to end up doing what the Buddha did and quitting that sort of ascetic life and going back into the real world with a philosophy like the middle way, or the Noble Eightfold Path, which entails the middle way. And yeah, live for now to some extent, but not too much. Also plan for the future, because it's prudent and expedient to do so. Yeah, delay gratification also. Put away for the future, because you never know when you might need, say, savings money in your account and things like this. And work hard, have, well, right livelihood, things like this, the livelihood that's right for you. Work hard at trying to be the best person you can be in whatever field of human endeavour suits you most naturally, be it carpentry or writing or painting or whatever it happens to be, you know. And apply right effort to it, and so on. And it all forms a sort of nice holistic, cohesive system of ideology. And all of that entails goal orientation, obviously, because to have an idea of right livelihood, you've instantly got the goal of right livelihood to work towards. So, and right effort being, you've got that to then work towards in the Buddhist school of thought. And you don't really need to go out and mimic the life of Buddha like Buddhist monks do to really come to the same conclusions, because Buddha's tale is a sort of cautionary tale, and you don't really need to follow that path at all, really, because Buddha did it before you, so you don't need to. But Buddhist monks still do, for whatever reason they do. Yeah. But getting back to where I was in this little diatribe, No, I don't think I've wasted my 20s. I think I've wasted some of it, actually. I think, yeah, that's the excess time spent on Facebook and things like arguing in Facebook groups with stupid, ridiculous people who are, say, advocates the who apologise for the British Empire and the slave trade, all this sort of crap. So on. Like, I can't be bothered with those people, really. And I'm getting too sort of wrapped up in the politics of the alt-right and the radical left and all this sort of thing. Watching too many YouTube videos about that sort of nonsense. It's draining, it really, really is. And what the counterbalance to being drained by that has always been getting out into the real world and actually meeting with people and talking to people about these sorts of things and seeing what people are really like in spite of what internet pundits say. And that's been an important lesson I've learned in my 20s, and it's a lesson I've learned through doing stand-up comedy, because you get to meet a lot of people through stand-up comedy and have a lot of conversations. And invariably people aren't like that in the real world. But like the internet would seek to suggest that they are like that, because the sorts of people seeking to suggest that people are like that online invariably are the sorts of people who are shut-ins and live their whole lives through the internet and don't actually go out into the real world and have conversations with people. So what they say can't really be taken seriously, and I do mean people like Thunderfoot, and I do mean people like Carl Benjamin, who just sit around sweltering in their sort of flabbily in their chairs by a computer, reading the news, finding out what's going on in the world, finding something ridiculous to talk about online. I'm Thunderfoot and da 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 da. Oh, the radical left are at it again and da 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 da. Pick quote from here, but from something someone stupidly said offhand during a protest. And that proves your point, sort of, not. Or they think it might. But yeah, don't go out into the world and actually talk to people like that. Just comment on how it seems to be and indoctrinate other people into believing what you believe. You know, it's... I'm happy to one extent that I haven't fallen entirely down either the alt-right or the radical left rabbit holes. If there is such a thing on the left side, I don't think there is. If there is one, I haven't been able to find it. And I'm a member of the Antifa group on Facebook as well. And I don't really engage in that group at all. But it's not really what people on the alt-right think it is, I don't think, quite. And... yeah, I'm glad I didn't fall too far down either one of those rabbit holes politically, and sort of just retained my centre leftism and my libertarianism, more or less, and sort of seek to remain a sort of anti-authoritarian leftist figure, person. And yeah, I think that's something I really gained from my teenage years, of the attitude of always question things, be a skeptic and so on, don't take everything with a grain of salt, and interrogate and question ideas constantly without just blindly accepting them. And I carry that through to my 20s, which I'm quite pleased with, I think. So yeah, I don't think I've wasted too much time in my 20s, and I think I've achieved quite a bit. Hopefully I'll achieve more in my life, and hopefully everything will go in the sort of direction that I want it to go in. We can live in hope, can't we? I don't think I've got too many reasons to be hopeless, which is also something I'm grateful for. And it's something I'm grateful to my past self for. Even though my past self has fucked up on quite a few occasions. Again, I don't think I've fucked up too badly. I'm still here, and I'm still doing what I love. So, thank you everyone for watching. This has been my video about whether or not I've wasted my 20s. And thank you very much. I'll see you soon. Bye bye bye. Love you lots.